Well, who's ready for some fresh air after that? Everyone?
Why not play on God of War difficulty? Well, you had to commit to that at the very beginning of the game. God of War difficulty on 2018 game I thought was not really well done. I didn't find it very fun. It's just like everything's spongy and tanky as all fuck. So I felt no compelling reason to assume it'd be different here. So I played on normal until I was like killing everything first try easily. And then I upgraded to No Mercy. To play on God of War difficulty, you have to play from a new file on that, which by that point I was already like, I don't know, like 5 or so hours in or so, when I was like, okay, well, this is clearly like, they've refined a little bit better here. So, it is what it is. I usually would rather play games on normal and then revisit them on a hard difficulty on second playthrough. There seems to be a narrative that the God gamers are going to play every game on the hardest difficulty. While that is true, okay, you're more proficient at skills and or more dedicated to the goal by playing on the hardest difficulty. I don't think that equates to playing on hardest difficulty equals it's a good experience or that it's automatically worthwhile. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I would say here that God of War difficulty on Data Boy 2018 was not a good experience. Dude, things were tanky and spongy and just like every fight was like a fucking 10-minute slugfest. Not very fun. I'd rather a harder difficulty test my application of the game harder rather than just make everything really fucking just, again, infinitely higher HP. Comparatively, to make it more nuanced here, I find Final Fantasy, I find FF7 Remake's hard mode actually very good, and I was enjoying that a ton actually, because it tested my application of all the mechanics all the more so. When I was playing on normal, I got asked that question a shit ton, and I felt like a lot of it was just bad faith. Oh, you're not playing on hard? Oh, you're an invalid gamer, or you're an invalid streamer, and then just move on. And it's like, it's a major decision being asked of the player with minimal context. Man, do you love combat? Play on the hard mode or play on the hardest mode. And it's like, okay, well, what does that mean? Does that mean that like, does that mean that my cooldowns are 5 times longer to refresh? Does that mean that you don't regen health in any capacity? Does that mean that enemies are 5x tankier? If you had like patch notes, which I admit is less immersive of the experience because it makes it more gamey. But if you don't have patch notes, you're just kind of making a huge decision that affects every aspect of your playthrough with a 1-sentence, incredibly vague description. It kind of sucks. Why is everyone trying to be an elitist on everything? Bro, welcome to online, dude. That's all it ever is, man. It's never enough. You play on hard, man, play on the hardest mode. You play on the hardest mode, oh, man, you take so long to beat the game, though. You can never win, really.
Meanwhile, I'll see what else I can learn while we're here.
And I think I've gotten to a point now where it's just my own mental health is a lot better, so I don't like take these like those jabs about like why aren't you doing X as like a personal attack. I can interpret it as a good faith thing. Well, everyone else is doing X, why aren't you doing X? And there probably is something to be said here about like, well, why is it so elitist with the higher difficulty situation there? What's going on there? Are gamers really seeking more validation? Because this used to not be a problem. This used to be a cultural thing like 15 years ago. And I don't know when that really happened. I feel like it's kind of like more pronounced and as online gaming grew, like MW2 onward and shit like that. No, Elden Ring just really brought out the rift, but this was already a problem before. Like this is like maybe Dark Souls 1 being popular and shit may have like made it more pronounced at that time, but this has been a problem long before Elden Ring, and even maybe a little bit before like Dark Souls, I would say. But I do think there is a lot of elitism. There's a lot of gatekeeping. It is toxic. It's really fucking annoying. It is really bad. And I'm wondering what's going on there. Why there a certain faction of gaming fans across various genres really gatekeepy about game difficulty? Is it because they feel like they're so eager for validation that like this is the thing they can finally like, they've been gate kept themselves on so many other things that they have emotional turmoil and they're like, okay, I have my thing, Maybe it's an exposure bias because I'm streaming and I know there's a competitive angle to like streamers playing on the hardest difficulty right away, irrelevant of context, just to be able to flex on hard mode. And that makes it like, that trains the meta of Twitch audience to expect that, oh, well, if they're playing on hard mode, it's better content, right? Every streamer is playing on the hardest difficulty and they don't look like they're having fun playing the game. Maybe, yeah. And ultimately, even bigger than that, the big thing here is there's actually no need to justify what difficulty you're playing on to anybody else. That's the whole thing about even the framing of the narrative that you need to justify. Well, why are you a normal gamer? Why are you an easy gamer? I've always been pro accessibility, pro choice. Play the game however you want. As long as there are like people in this world who, again, whatever it may be here, one-armed amputee gamers with a, shattered thumb, shattered index finger, whatever you slam your thumb in a car door and now suddenly 90% of games are inaccessible to you. That fucking sucks until your thumb heals. That blows ass. So having ways to accommodate those people is great. Color blindness, hard of hearing, cutscene skipping, subtitle options, descriptive captions beyond just subtitles, describing what's actually happening for the hearing impaired. And I think that extends all the way. The pro accessibility extends even to difficulty as far as you're wanting to make it here. Obviously, have the developer director intended option be there, but also have options here. It doesn't delegitimize those who want the challenge. Again, that's just their insecurity and ego showing at that point, I would say here. But yeah, you can do whatever you want to do. Yeah, I think I'm staunch on reassuring you of that. When I'm playing on hard modes, because I want to play on hard mode, not because I feel an obligation to play on hard mode. And it's coming from, and look, and anyone who would say, well, you're an invalid gamer, suck my dick. Look, I've speed ran for, 15, however fucking many, 20 plus years now. And so if anyone has any gamer credits, it's certainly me. So yeah, I'll use my position of clout and legitimacy to like tell you you're actually a gatekeeping Neanderthal 0 IQ piece of shit. Yeah, the whole thing for me is personally, I'm always like, yeah, I want to play the intended normal version, and then refined and fine tune my experience from there. I can't think of a scenario where I would generally want to hop on a game's hard mode blindly first try without testing things first on the normal difficulty option. I don't know, just any established hobby becomes more popular and mainstream and saturated with just more fans of different background spectrums here. They're very used to one demographic enjoying the hobby, and now there's multiple demographics, viewpoints, bringing in their, ancestral lineage to the situation here, And I think y'all brought up here, it's a really good example with the whole, the Elden Ring gatekeep. That was so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Oh my God, dude, so ridiculous. Let us pause here. Final take here on that one. Officially, according to the most toxic spectrum of gatekeeping elitism in Elden Ring at the peak of its popularity, don't use summons, don't use mimic tier, don't use, what was it here? If you use Blood Veil sword, you're a fucking noob. It was like half dude, I forgot all things here. It was like literally like half the game's mechanics were like noob bait and you couldn't use any of those. And it's just like, well, goddamn, bro, really? Are you that insecure about how bad you play that you need to make everyone else dumb down to your level where we're using absolutely nothing of in-game resource to acquire advantage? Really? It was cringe. It was so fucking cringe. Cringe. Don't use magic. Don't use mimic tier. Don't use summons. I don't know. Don't farm. You can't farm as cheating too. Dude, it went on and on and on. It was ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Yeah.